Hi, third graders. We're continuing our read of The Puppy Palace, and we are beginning today on page 72, chapter 7. Page 72, chapter 7. Charles spent the whole rest of the afternoon in the cabin. The wind howled and the snow swirled outside, but inside it was warm and cozy. Charles was happy to take care of Fluffy, while Dad and Steve finished boiling up the sap in the tank. Freckles mostly stayed outside with them, though he barked at the door now and then to see if Fluffy was ready to play. It turned out that Steve had been right about Fluffy being fine once he'd had some formula. The lamb stopped trembling and bleeding, and by the time he finished the first bottle, he was ready to get down off Charles' lap and explore the cabin. He was so cute as he scampered around on his tiny hooves. He checked everything out, from the plants on the windowsill to the stack of CDs by the bookcase. His tail wagged just like a dog's as he pawed at things that interested him, and his little ears moved around like radar antennae. And boy, could he jump! The first time Charles saw Fluffy leap onto the couch, he was shocked. It was like the lamb had little springs to his feet, and he loved to bounce around. Once when Charles was down on all fours trying to play with him, Fluffy even bounced right into Charles' back. When the lamb began bleeding again, Charles knew exactly what to do. "Food is coming," he told Fluffy. "Hold on just a sec." Steve had showed him how to mix the formula. Charles quickly made up a bottle and then took it over to the couch and held it while Fluffy sucked hungrily on the nipple. Charles loved holding Fluffy while he ate. The lamb's curly coat was so springy and soft, and it was so entertaining to watch his little nose wriggle and his little ears swivel this way and that. This time, when he finished eating, Fluffy curled up on Charles' lap and went right to sleep. "Nap time for little lambies," Charles whispered as he stroked the lamb's soft coat. "That's right, you need your rest." Fluffy sighed and nestled in more comfortably. Charles kissed the top of his head. "Fluffy smells so good, kind of woolly actually, like Charles's favorite red sweater." A few minutes later, Charles' stomach began to growl. He'd been so busy feeding Fluffy, he'd forgotten to feed himself, but now he was stuck sitting there on the couch until the lamb woke up. Charles tried to ignore his grumbling tummy, but all he could think about was the giant sandwich he was going to make as soon as he could. Finally, Fluffy woke up. He blinked at Charles, then gave himself a little shake and leapt down onto the floor to continue his explorations. Charles jumped up too and headed straight for the kitchen. If he was hungry, Dad and Steve must be too. He made 3 big sandwiches and gobbled down half of his own while he mixed another bottle of formula. He knew that Fluffy was probably going to start bleeding any minute, so he might as well be ready. Sure enough, Charles had barely finished getting the formula mix before Fluffy began to bleat again. Sighing, Charles grabbed one more bite of sandwich, then brought the bottle over to the couch. The lamb jumped right up and began to drink as if he was starving. This time, when Fluffy finished the bottle, Charles settled the lamb between some pillows on the couch. He loved having Fluffy sleep on his lap, but he didn't want to get trapped again. "I've got to bring lunch out to Dad and Steve," he said to Fluffy. "You be a good lammy and have a nice nap. I'll be right back." Charles put the sandwiches on a plate and pulled on his boots. When he pushed the back door open, he gasped. Swirling snow surrounded him, the wind pushing flakes into his eyes, his nose, his mouth. "Wow," he said. He could hardly even make out the sugar shack through the curtain of white. Then he saw something moving, brown spots against the white. "Freckles," he said. The puppy bounded happily through the snow toward him, ears flapping. He didn't seem at all fazed by the blizzard. Freckles sniffed at the plate in Charles' hands. He gave Charles a sideways look and a grin, wagging his tail hopefully. "Maybe you've got some treats for me there?" Charles smiled and shook his head at the little brown and white pup. Freckles already seemed completely at home here. It was too bad that Steve didn't want any pets. "This is for the people, Freckles," he said, "but if you want to come inside with me after I deliver it, I'll give you some kibbles." Charles knew Freckles wouldn't understand everything he was saying, but it didn't matter. Dogs liked it when you talked to them and explained things. Charles pushed on, stomping through the snow toward the sugar shack. The sap was boiling hard, and Charles could smell the sweet scent of almost syrup. "Hooray," said Steve when he saw Charles coming. He was chopping wood, but he put down his hatchet and came over to take a sandwich. He brushed the snow off his jacket and smiled at Charles. "Our hero, I'm starving." All right, we're going to stop there at the bottom of page 77, and we'll begin at the top of page 78 tomorrow. Thank you so much, third graders. I hope you're doing well. Take care and see you tomorrow. Bye now.